Right now, it's my pleasure to introduce to you a member of the IAOD board and the executive director of the Michigan Transplantation Society for a few words and presentations. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Beiersdorf.
Thank you, Mayor Guido and Dr. Campbell, for your superb words. Now we're going to go from the big picture down to real life and meet some very special people who embody what IAOD is all about. This story is called A Story About Hope, and I believe we have a video to show at this moment.
This is a story about hardship and about compassion. Mostly, this is a story about hope.
Good evening. My name is Walid Haddad. I have been on dialysis for more than 8 years. Being on dialysis is not that easy. You have to be plugged to a machine for 4 hours a day, 3 times a week. My life has been turned upside down. I don't get to do or enjoy many of the everyday things that other people do. I'm on a strict diet and have physical restrictions. I'm tired of being plugged to machines. It's so exhausting. I have seen a lot of my colleagues die because they couldn't handle it anymore. I'm a survivor, and I won't give up because I have hope that someday I will receive a kidney. Like myself, there are 83,000 people on a waiting list. Every 30 minutes, someone from that list dies. And every 60 minutes, someone is added to the list. We urge you to become an organ donor. You can make a difference. Please talk to your families and friends and tell them about your decision to give life. Thank you, and God bless you.
My husband mentioned every once in a while that maybe he was thinking to see if he could possibly be a donor. And I thought about it, and I said, well, I'm not going to say anything, because if I say, oh, yeah, that'd be really great, you know, get in there and do that, it would be swaying his opinion. And I felt that it would be really up to him, opinion he had to make by himself. So I kept quiet. And some time went by, and finally he did make a call, and he made a few calls to find out if he would be able to do this. Well, he spoke to Mr. Haddad, and the first thing that they discovered was that they don't have the same blood type. And so his donation to this particular person was ruled out. In the meantime, oddly enough, when he said what his blood type was, I realized that it was my blood type. But I had been brought up thinking, oh, no, I don't do things like that, you know. Nobody pokes around with my body, you know, and on and on and on. And I said, well, you know, that's something that my husband might do, but no, I don't think it would be something that I would do. And I just let it go. And then I don't really know what happened. Mr. Haddad says that an angel talked to my ear. That something suddenly came to me that this was the right thing to do, and that I could definitely put aside all this fear that I might have around being poked around or whatever it is, and that it was very minor compared to the goodness that it could bring. And I had this vision, and may I see it occur, of my walking over to Walid's bed and say to him, you don't have to have dialysis anymore, and be able to you know, hug Chafiko and say, you know, your dad doesn't have to do this anymore. And it made me so glad. It made my heart so glad that you know, there was no inconvenience that would prevent me from going through with this if I possibly can.
You too can give life. Become an organ or tissue donor.
We're very pleased and honored that the stars of that story are with us tonight. Can I ask Mr. Waleed Haddad to stand for your applause? Waleed? Mr. Haddad, we know what a struggle it is for you physically to be here. Your being with us takes on significant meaning. We wish you well, and our prayers are with you. You are the reason that IAOD exists. The other individual in that story is a rather inspirational woman, Marlene Zerger. Marlene, your story of courage is now preserved for all to see. Your story of compassion and love for your fellow human being is why we honor you tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, too many people are afraid to give. Too many people are ignorant of what good their donation could do. Too many people are complacent, but not Marlene Zerger. She is a woman full of love, life, and the desire to help others. The career she chose is indicative of that. As a paraprofessional, she tutors children who need the extra help. She heard a truly heart-rending story and became committed to change its ending by giving Waleed a chance at life. She went through the tests, but unfortunately, the further tests were found that she was not a suitable match. She may not be a donor this time around, but she has become an advocate and a spokeswoman about the gift of life. We would be remiss if we did not acknowledge her husband, Mr. Tom Zerger, who was first to decide to help Waleed, but did not have the same blood type. It was the power of Tom's suggestion that got Marlene thinking about how she might give in his place. Now, you should know that Mrs. Zerger is a modest woman. As a matter of fact, she didn't think she was deserving of an award for something that seemed to her to be so natural. Well, Mrs. Zerger, while it should be natural, unfortunately donating an organ or a kidney seems to be a most difficult thing for some people, even those of goodwill. So that's another reason we honor you tonight with the IAOD's Living Inspiration Award. Ladies and gentlemen, meet a truly compassionate person, a person who values every human being and who loves life, Mrs. Marlene Zerger. Could you come on up, please?
This is an extraordinary experience for me. I was hoping that Waleed would not be here. I was hoping that he would be recovering from surgery. But he is here. And I would like to mention Isaac, his son, who I met first, and who had just come from Bolivia and was making his adjustment to his new life. He had a lot of headaches. He was always concerned about his dad. He would tell me that his dad had problems with his heart in addition to the dialysis. Waleed's now having 5 hours of dialysis instead of 4. And his situation is very serious. And I'm here to ask someone to help. You know, I'm asking someone to, you know, Isaac would say to me, I said, well, Isaac, you know, aren't you upset? I mean, aren't you worried? And he said, nah, he always gets better. And that's the way I want it to be for him. I want his dad to be better. And I am so grateful for the goodness that's in this room. Everybody who has come here because they have a concern, because they care. And yes, it is hard to get on the other side of that fear of being tampered with. But for me, I was able to do that. And I would hope that there are many others who can do that, and there are many others who have done that. And this is my plea. Help Waleed and help the others who deserve and need that help. And I'm very grateful to be here. I'm grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
And the award reads, Ms. Zerger said, Financial Association of Organ Donation, 2002 Living Inspiration Award, Marlene Zerger. April 11, 2002, Live and Then Give. And thank you for your kindness and the gift of life.
And Mrs. Zerger mentioned that certainly her husband had wanted to become a donor, but his blood was not an appropriate match either. She's an inspiration, though, isn't she? Perhaps it isn't customary. Go ahead, yes. It isn't customary and perhaps a little unusual to give two of the same award in the same year. But once you learn about Nazia and Amal Mroué, you will know why we did. Take yourself back a couple years to 1999. For 7 years, Nazia Mroué had been suffering. Along with her physical suffering, she endured the emotional pain of an unnecessary hysterectomy because she was misdiagnosed with ovarian cancer. By the time the truth was determined, both her kidneys had failed and she needed a transplant. Nazia asked her family for help. One family member stepped forward, her only sister Amal. Other family members, however, and Amal's husband were adamantly against it, but Amal persisted. She could see that her sister was dying. Her skin had turned yellow. She was no longer full of life like she had been all the years before. After compatibility tests and assurances from Amal's doctor that she would continue to enjoy good health, the sisters underwent the kidney transplant surgery in 1999, and the course of history was reversed. Nazia has since danced at 2 of her children's weddings, and she now chases after 2 grandchildren, plus the 2 teenagers who are still at home. Amal gave birth to a 3rd child and would be here tonight, but she's due to give birth any day now with child number 4. Nazia wants to tell her story. Her 2 messages are clear and concise. Get a second or third opinion if you're concerned about a diagnosis, and donate your organs. You could save a life. Nazia was going to go to London, Ontario today to pick up Amal so that they could both be with us tonight. But Amal's doctor said it's a little too close and a little too risky to travel at this time with the birth of the baby very imminent. She's with us in spirit, and we're with her. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet another very brave lady, Mrs. Nazia Mroué, who will accept our Living Inspiration Award for her sister and herself. Nazia?
Ladies and gentlemen, I am very grateful to receive this honor tonight. And I do felt very hard about the way I saw that man suffering because he needed a kidney. I went through the same problem. I cried, I suffered, and everybody was like against me. Only my sister stood with me. I know his feelings. I know what he's feeling right now. I will always plead to everyone. I would like to ask the whole world to please, let's help each other. Helping is very important. We'll say thanks to the doctors, more the doctors at the University of Michigan Health System at Ann Arbor, especially Dr. Ben Margolis, who stood very, very strong by my side to give me hope. I was so depressed. He took me out of depression. It is a very bad thing. We do put a positive feeling out for people to see how we feel, but deep down we are dying slowly. I'm very grateful for everything that came my way, and I would like to say thanks to everyone. Please, please, let's help each other, and that's what God wants us to do. Thank you.
Well, certainly these wonderful women have touched our hearts, and they've demonstrated clearer than anything we can say why we ask you to give, so that others can live. So congratulations and our heartfelt thanks to Marlene Zerger and Nazia Mrouet and Amal Mrouet. You're an inspiration to all of us. Thank you. Last year at this banquet, we met a man whose mission was to encourage us to sign our donor cards. And through U.S. Army Major General Joseph Yakovac, we came to learn of an extraordinary young woman named Sarah. And he has another message from Sarah. So may I present my dear friend, Major General Joseph Yakovac.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor and pleasure for you to invite me back this year. If you look in your program, my talk this year will be about Sarah's last wish. This may be hard for me to get through, so please bear with me. I'm here not representing the U.S. military, even though I'm in uniform. I'm here representing fathers and those other family members that today there are approximately 3,000 people in the United States that need a bone marrow transplant and need a donor. A year ago, my daughter was one of those. My purpose here today is to convince you that you can make a difference and you can give hope. In order for me to convey what I want to tell you, I have to take you back in time. Some of those you were here with me last year. There's some repetition in the story, but it's the only way I can get my message across, and you have to know something about my daughter and what we went through. 6 months before, 6 weeks before graduating from college, Sarah was diagnosed with acute myelogenous leukemia, a very deadly form of the leukemia family of diseases. Initially, we had great hope. She was young, her age was with her, and through the first treatments, she went into complete remission. The doctors told us she had a good chance of surviving. To tell you something about Sarah, as soon as she got out of the hospital and began to recover, the first thing she did was walk down to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society and sign up as a spokesman and a helper. And that summer, 1 month after she got out of her initial transplant, it was her own transplant, which you do in those cases, she led a march in Washington, D.C. to raise money. She was on her way, in her words, which was always her goal in life, no matter what she did, was to make a difference. Unfortunately for us as a family and for her as an individual, approximately 5 months later, cancer came back with a vengeance. We were told at that point in time, the only hope she had and we had as a family was to find a match. She needed a donor bone marrow transplant. Now, statistically, we were looking at a chance of 1 in 20,000. Now, obviously, the more of us that sign up to be on a donor's list, those chances go higher that you can find a match. Just specifically in a community like this, where ethnic minorities have a lower chance of finding a donor. But miraculously, her 1 in 20,000 chance came true, and we had a match, a perfect match. And so a year ago, on the 6th of April, I was here telling you what she had just gone through, the transplant, and all the hope we had that she would beat this terrible disease. Unfortunately for us, 10 days later, she died. But she didn't die because of the transplant. The transplant worked. She died with no cancer in her body. She died today because some of the procedures we have to suppress, and the discussion earlier about the immune system, would not hold up. She was just too weak. But somebody like you